Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a beautiful morning, a soulful morning. So, today, let's be grateful for all the relationships that we've been blessed with. For anybody struggling with some kind of a thing somewhere in our family, in our lives, may they get healthier. May they see this beautiful love and light that is there in this world for us to be shared, for that to be shared with them. Today's morning will all about be sending blessings to the loved ones for anything which is there in their bodies, in their mind, any soul traumas that they're carrying. May they be lightened, may they be released. So, firstly, we should align ourselves with our breath work. Be in very deep gratitude for all the love, light that's coming in us through our wonderful breath that gives us life. And as we exhale out this breath, let's be grateful for all the negativity that is there in us to be just released. We accept the darks and the lights of us being. We know that nobody is perfect. In fact, a human being is somebody with imperfections, and we keep perfecting them with the art of living. And having said that, whenever a negative emotion comes, at times we allow it to kind of grow, which is nice because we learn to accept. But then we tend to go into all the feelings of guilt, powerlessness, anger, frustration, and then why did we feel it? Which is reflecting. The challenge lies if we allow those emotions to get completely over us and we don't reflect on it. It could be that we reflect on it later, but as long as we reflect, we are a person in progress. If we are in denial, we are letting our journey come to a standstill. Life does throw knocks and shocks, lessons to be learned, where we are unable to accept why we or our loved ones are the way they are, not in alignment with how we'd want life to be. But then we should also realize that everybody is on a soul journey. And maybe it is our duty at a soul level to help that person get uplifted, and we try to say some words of caution, words of preparation, words of maybe admonishment, words of maybe encouragement. But then what we need to learn also is that whatever we say, let that be coming, but let that other person also understand from our words, from our actions, that we do love them unconditionally. And that no matter what we say to them, admonish them again, or show our frustration, anger, anxiety, or whatever, that they are loved, that they are special, that there is a soul connection. Similarly, any family member, any friends who we think are close to us have come in our life for a purpose, but we know today are struggling with some health issue. Now, this health could be emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, etheric health, whichever it is. Let's realize that that has also come to the person for a problem to be solved. But today, let's close our eyes and think of that person or persons in a beautiful pink bubble. So I request everybody to imagine, suppose if you do not know of any loved one going through any kind of problem, which may be rare, but if you can't think of anybody, no name pops in, then think of one person who you love, who you will want to be bettered in their life, in that pink bubble. Today is about just sending lots of healing to anybody we know, we love, we cherish, so that they get activated at a soul level, and we request their masters, their angels, their guardians, their spirit guides to help them in their journey for ascension by helping them release all that is holding them back. So now, imagine a huge pink bubble. So huge that the person who's an actual human size is in it, and this bubble is at least 3 times his or her size from all sides. It's a perfect, beautiful 3D bubble, pink bubble. Now, we've all heard that our Anahata chakra, heart chakra, is green in color. But we've all also heard and seen hearts in pinks and reds. And we've also heard the old adage in the pink of health. If you 1% open your eyes, you'll also see on the screen a lot of pinks. But you don't have to open your eyes, you just know them in a way. Violet is the color of spirituality. Indigo is the color of future vision. So if you wish, you could invite this violet and this beautiful indigo color also in your pink bubble. And if you want to invite the green color, the color of the Anahata chakra, the color of Mother Earth, also into this pink bubble. So now what's happening is that you have introduced splash of colors in this ball. That could be that you're this person that you're now thinking about needs some healing with his or her dreams, or then something is holding them back. And you think that right now the solar plexus chakra needs to be activated. So please introduce this yellow color also. And if you think the person has problems, the roots or sacral, introduce the orange and the red also. Now the bubble is a beautiful Saptarangi bubble with the 8th color being the essence, being the pink. And now imagine these beautiful colors like a rainbow and the pink are entering into every fiber, molecule, atom of her or his being from all possible directions. If you wish, you can imagine that this spiritual, divine, healing white light is coming on top and entering into the Sahasrara chakra of that one person or the multiple people that you put in the bubble. So you'll see many, many lights or one light going strongly into the being of that one person or people. And if you wish, you can imagine golden white, golden healing light energy coming from Mother Earth into the soles of their feet. And now inside them, you can feel these two energies crisscrossing and going all around, energizing the body. And these beautiful healing color energies also getting there. And if possible, imagine them with every chakra having been activated in the right color. The soul star chakra is 18 inches above their above the Sahasrara chakra. See that glowing. If nobody's clear about the color, you can see this as a beautiful white glowing color. Whatever image you want to give it, when I see them activated, I see them as Kamal. You can see them as whichever image that comes to your mind. If no image comes, maybe just a circle. Some of you may remember the shapes of the chakras with the lotus different poses. If that comes to you, do that. Whatever comes, don't make an extra effort. See the beautiful white energy lotus or whatever, 18 inches above the head getting activated. It's always activated. And now you may be able to visualize it. See that violet, beautiful lotus blooming on the Sahasrara chakra, just on the top of the head, inside the head. Activated fully. Now the third eye chakra gets activated fully. If you wish, you can imagine it's an indigo color. Now imagine the beautiful blue in their throat. Maybe they're not able to say something. Just imagine the lotus blooming in their throat. The green heart gets activated as a beautiful lotus flower. So keep activating this. This is the most important place to be activated because his or her heart is going through a lot of range of emotions as a healing. Take a little more time in activating this beautiful touch, this healing touch. Her or his heart grow many folds, and they become so expansive that they're able to receive all the love, light, healing energy, and strength that we are giving. Isn't that beautiful? Problem that they're in right now, they'll be soon out of it and be back in the pink of health. Beautiful. See that activated even more. Keep expanding, keep expanding. So much of love and light, so much of love and light. Now you can see a yellow lotus blooming in the solar plexus chakra. I'm using the word lotus because that's what comes to my mind. You can see a ball activated, whatever you wish. Further travel and see the orange lotus bloom in the sacral chakra. And finally, in the root chakra, see the red lotus bloom. And now again, see that the golden and the White healing light is healing them at every possible level. Now, this is going beyond the body. See the aura layers, see the other bodies. Emotionally, they're healed, mentally, they're healed, physically, they're healed, ethically, they're healed, spiritually, they're healed. See them healing. See the blood flow. If there's any excessive blood flow, it just stops. The body stops releasing excess blood. In fact, whatever blood loss, if they've had, automatically the energy completes it. See crystals on them in their pink bubble. Whether you're aware of the power of crystals or not, it doesn't matter. Just see crystals around them. See them heal. And now gently, you can imagine that this person or people that you have healed are coming back to wherever they're living in their homes, blessed, rejuvenated, recharged, and let this pink ball of energy be with them. Whenever he or she is missing something, may your loved ones be healed. Let's bow to the masters. Angels, guardians of her or him and your own, for their presence in this beautiful healing. For showing you the direction. To invoke the blessings, the presence of the ancestors also, and the loved ones also, who are not in this realm, to help your loved one heal at all possible levels. And now let's fold our hands and be grateful that we could all become this medium of healing, of sending love to our loved one, whoever we thought that was in this pink bubble of light. And gently, whenever you're ready, let's open our beautiful eyes and welcome the world that we every morning get into, the world of Dr. Brian Weiss. Same soul, many bodies. And today we'll again be reading about some particular aspect of our being, which is security. And to understand this, we will read the story in chapter number 9 of Patrick, wherein he's talking about his challenges, and let's understand how Dr. Brian Weiss helps him. Chapter number 9, Patrick's security. And this page is, one second, page 142, right? And we have 90 more pages to go. All right. We hear the word security every day. Financial security, social security, national security, all these are important. But here we are discussing a more profound security, security of self, emotional security, psychic security, security that enables us to interact fully with our families, our lovers, our friends, our society, our civilization. It springs from self-love, from understanding yourself as a soul, and from realizing you were present in past lives and will exist in future lives throughout all time. Real security comes from the knowledge that you are immortal, that you are eternal, and that you can never be harmed. I've dated very wealthy people who are miserable and have no sense of security at all, though their creature comforts are assured throughout their present lives. Security doesn't come from possessions. You can't bring your material things into the next life, but you can bring your deeds, your actions, your growth, and what you have learned and how you're progressing as a spiritual human being. It is also possible that you can take some of your talents. I had the idea that Mozart was an accomplished musician in an earlier life, which accounts for his precocity as a child in the 18th century. Security and self esteem are interrelated, and self esteem is sometimes difficult to achieve, though without it, self love isn't possible. Many of us incorporate the concept taught, usually unconsciously, by our parents, by teachers, friends, or communities that we are deficient in some way, not up to the mark. We can let go of the negatives. We can gain self love, the religious traditions that love everybody else. Okay, so I have a message. Sorry. What is the meaning of precocity? Okay, so which means that there are children who develop some kind of special sense, or they are enabled, or maybe some kind of ability in the way they generally tend to think, behave, which is somewhat not normal than other normal people. So that is important. Precocity is only in a child. It's not into larger being. And there's also a very beautiful term, precociousness, which is about um, people don't approve of it, people don't count it, but it's the consciousness of that particular child, of that being. So now that's what they're talking about. So in this sentence, if you are not clear, let me make you understand that Brian Weiss says, I'm going to highlight this for you. I have the idea that Mozart was an accomplished musician in an earlier life, which accounts for his precocity as a child in the 18th century. This means that Mozart was special. And as a child, he, Albert Einstein, they were not approved by the norms of regularity in children. And they were given this tag of being special. But they were indeed gifted, right? So, but their parents mustn't have felt secure about them because just the way they are. So today we are talking about the fact that what we have learned from being a spiritual human being, all of us are spiritual beings. That goes unsaid. All of us have chosen in this particular life to be a human being. So obviously we're a spiritual human being, and we've all learned lessons. Now, the minute we become a human being, there's a very human or animal kingdom, both of them are in that way, in a way similar. For that matter, even plant kingdom. The consciousness around them is very, very, very important. But when it comes to animals and people, we tend to come with a soul family. And this soul family is coming to us to give us security, to give us self esteem, to give us tasks that are difficult to achieve. And these are just not possible without self love. Like I've spoken about this before. If our own tank, like imagine your mobile battery and you have a battery inside you, if that is completely on zero level, then how do you charge the others because you are discharged? So it's very ironic that, we as healers, we as readers, we as co-learners, we think, oh, I am all out there to give love. Fabulous you are. What about receiving love? When people say, I love you, and when people say, I look up to you, and this is so good about you, do you shrug it off and say, nahi, nahi, tumhe lag raha hai, aisa kuch nahi hai? Or do you accept it as gift of love and say, thank you, and I'm blessed that you feel so? You want to be humble, you can be. But do you accept that you are a beautiful soul, that you have something to offer, and that something could be not only just spiritually, it could be like you could be a great musician, a great singer, a great artist, or just somebody who cooks very beautifully, or somebody who works so very amazingly. To all the men out here, you may be blessed with these extra advantages, or maybe your work ethic is something that somebody's proud of. But next time when somebody compliments you, do not shrug it off. Because when you accept this love, your battery in your heart, in your soul, in your being is getting charged. The more love we receive, which is why the social media is flourishing. Why? Because deep inside, all of us are looking for validation. All of us are seeking out there to get love. And it's not bad at all. Some people say, oh, people throw their lives fully in public. What is the harm? If he or she is comfortable and they receive the love and the adulation, and that's what they think they need, so what is the harm? Somebody who says spiritually evolved feels we do not need to do that. Fair enough. There's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. Again and again and again, these morning sessions teach us the one word that we all need to understand: acceptance. It's very easy to flow and to blame God. Why have you done this to me? Why don't I deserve this? That person is living such a life. She or he has a beautiful body. I don't. She or he has a beautiful bank balance. I don't. She or he travels first class, business class. I don't. I don't even get to travel overseas every year, every 2 years, every 3 years because my bank balance is not that, for example. Or he or she looks so young. I don't. His or her children are so talented, mine are not. What are we doing? Comparison. Now, comparison is beautiful if that other person that you're looking at, you look up to the person and say, oh, he's blessed, she's blessed with so much, and I wish them all the very best. And I hope to God that that same quality comes in my life. Then that's a gift of love. But jealousy is something we all have to stay miles away from. So if you feel jealous, try and convert those thoughts that am I jealous or am I liking what I'm seeing? And if I'm liking what I'm seeing, can I admire it? Jealousy is the fact that, we keep hearing this comical thing, no? Hey, God, New Year's resolution. God, this year, if you can't make me thin, make my friends fat. Is that something you really want on your friends? Are you so jealous of them that just because you can't get what they want, they should get what you want, and which is a lot of something like physical weight or deficiencies or some things. We all get what we get because of our past lives, karma. In Hindi, in our beautiful text, we say karma. It's very easy to lament, grieve, say, complain, but we all get something for improving our karma and for understanding what the lessons we've all been given. I repeatedly mentioned this to many a times. Me and my family got together at a soul level. We were soul family. A brother, for somebody it's a brother, for somebody it's a son, for somebody it's a grandson, for somebody it's a mama or whoever. We all came together to go through the loss of my loved one, of our loved one, because we had to see that. We had to learn a lesson. So rather than complaining about it, we see him as an energy. We talk about him as if with absolutely, at times, teary eyed, most normally not. Why? Because that's also a form of love. We have loved somebody. We love him even now. So back to this beautiful book where we say that many of us incorporate the concept taught, usually unconsciously by our parents, teachers, friends, or communities, that we are deficient in some way, not up to the mark. And that, my dear friends, I'm going to again repeat, is normal. In this world, 99% of the people, because of our consciousness, are not seeing the bright side, have not embraced the half cup full strategy. We are there to make everybody a better version of themselves. And we tend to point out the mistakes. But there's a way to point out the mistakes by telling them, oh, you are beautiful, you're this. Beta only, or beta, or person, whatever, relationship you have. This is something I have experienced in my life. And I wish this for you. That's all right. But rather than, you're so short tempered, hey, you're so short, hey, you're so fat, oh, you're so dark, you're so ugly, you're so non talented. Throwing on the face is something that you're making their self esteem go down. And what you take down from others, you get down in yourself because this is who you are. So, whatever we see in others is an emotion that we have in ourselves. People are emotional mirrors to our being. So, if we can let go of the negatives, we can gain self love. This, my dear friends, if you have the physical book, please highlight it. If we stop seeing the negatives in people and start seeing goodness in people, then we are becoming, our batteries are becoming more charged with love. The religious traditions that say love everybody else miss the point. Self love is the basis for love of others. It is where real charity begins. When you love yourself, it will spill over. When you don't love yourself, your energy will consciously or unconsciously be focused on finding it, and you won't have time for anybody else. Self love isn't selfish, it's healthy self esteem. The egoistic, the braggart, the self promoter, the diva, and the salesman, those who come across as self loving in order to sell themselves or their products, are often insecure at heart. The man I once thought was the most put together person I knew, a model of public self assurance and self promotion, told me in a moment of mutual confidence that he played a game called Dodge the Bus, which meant he stood at a dangerous street corner and tried to see how close he could come to being hit. What if you were killed? I asked, flabbergasted. Then the world would be rid of a worthless thing, he answered. Now that is just the quality of your life. That's the only worth. Really? True self love doesn't need to be broadcasted or publicly displayed. It is an inner state, a feeling, a strength, a happiness, of security. Remember, souls are part of the one which is love. We all have souls. We are always loved. We can always love in return. So, I'm not going to talk about which community I'm talking about, but there's this community of people absolutely vivacious in their being, but they publicly declare self love, self love, self love. They broadcast it. They do so much because deep inside they have been thwarted, they have been condemned, they have felt racism to the next level, and they feel hurt not only in this life, because what are they carrying from past lives? And they have been that community in the past too. They have been oppressed to the next level, and now, even though they are coming up as beautiful people, they are beautiful and they're just finding themselves beautiful. And they talk about their self love. Now, what we are showing a lot of our love for ourselves, it is in a way insecurity. Some are secure and they're displaying it. Again, we should tell ourselves not to be judging. Like what I've said right now is also, that's my feeling. It's not my judgment, but that's my feeling that that's how they emote. But we should all realize that there's one thing which is common. Whenever we feel somebody doing this, share them and give them a lot of love. We are all meant to keep giving. They say forgive and forget. We are meant for giving, for getting. The more we give, the more we get. And love is the only, love and light are the two beautiful things that we are made up of. That's the main energy in us. So let's give and let's get. There's no harm at all. Dr. Brian Rice says, when Patrick entered my office for the first time, he looked like a scruffy adolescent, hair tousled, wispy beard, jeans and Marlin's jacket that needed a wash, untied Adidas sneakers, and filthy fingernails. But he was actually 31, a cadaverously thin young man with rheumy eyes that he averted with a limp handshake. This was a man whose self-esteem was at a low, as low as that of anyone I've ever encountered. We established his age, residence Miami, that he was still living with his parents, professional accountant for a fledgling.com company, and in the fact that he was an only child and single, a virgin. He told me with a flush of shame. Who recommended me? I asked my parents. Do I know them? No, there's no way you would. My father works in a shipping office or a factory, and my mom is a sales lady at Kmart. Not the sort of people you're hobnob with. The last was said with hostility. I let it pass, but thought they must love their son so deeply to spend the money for his therapy. Then how did they find out about me? They heard you on a TV show, and immediately it was, that's the man for Patrick. Why? Because I'm into science fiction or was. And they think past life regression is science fiction. I looked at him with closely. Do you? A shrug. Silence. I pressed on. You said you went to science fiction. When was that? When I was a kid. But you're not anymore. Oh, I guess I am. But I'm too old for it. Remarkable. Many of my adult friends read science fiction and have lent me books by writers I admire. Verne, Wells, Lim, Bradbury. I was particularly interested in them now since they had extraordinary visions of the future. What's too old? 12. He said it was with such assurance that I knew an event had happened when he was at that age, which somehow had scarred him. You were too old when you reached 12. Other people read science fiction until they're 90. Another shrank. Granted, who said you were too old? My dad. He took my books and sold them to a second-hand bookstore. He said it was time for me to prepare for what I had to do when I was grown up. And science fiction would interfere with that, was my question. He said I was a dreamer. He said living on Mars, it was time to come back on Earth. Was he right? I suppose so. Patrick leaned forward, and at last his voice became animated. But I'll tell you, Dr. Wise, I was a lot better living on Mars than it is on Earth. And how unhappy his life must on Earth be. What do you think of the probes of Mars now? Have you seen the pictures? I asked. Have I? And that's just the beginning. In 10 years, there'll be humans on Mars, colonies of them. Will you be there? The light went out of it as though I switched it off. Nah, because you're not allowed to, I asked. Because others will have gotten there first. He put his hands together and brought them in front of his eyes as though to blot out my face. They won't want me with them. And again, I felt his unhappiness. Why? Because I don't belong, because I never belong. Where do you belong? Alone in the sky. What do you know? That's what the books told me. The science fiction books. Right. Only to me, they didn't seem like fiction. They were glimpses of the future. I'd be in this spaceship or even flying on my own. It was easy. I didn't like the books where there were wars and such. I didn't like the monsters, super weapons. Just the books about traveling to other planes or the stars. I could picture himself imprisoned in his room, reading, while his parents fretted below, wondering what to do with the peculiar child. Even when you stopped reading, when you tried to do what your father wanted, try to fit in, you were alone. He looked at me as though I was a magician. Yes. When I tried to talk about the sky or about other planets or space travel, the kids didn't seem interested, but it was all I knew about, all I cared about. I could go where others wouldn't, and they didn't want to hear about it. The kids thought I was crazy, all except Donnie, who was my friend. He was the only boy I felt comfortable with, but then his parents moved away and he went with them, which left you completely alone. The thing is, I began to think there was something wrong with me. I was different. I knew that, but why? I felt all powerful, but it turns out that I had no power at all. My dad told me science fiction was for kids, but if that was so, why didn't kids read it? I gave it up like he wanted, but my life felt empty. It wasn't fun anymore. I had no place to go, no place to hide. Since nobody paid attention to me, nobody listened, I couldn't trust myself. I, like others, there's a mathematics to space, so I became an accountant. An accountant? Is there anything more normal? Is there anything more dull? I feel completely empty, hopeless. Patrick's long speech was accompanied by a series of facial expressions: sadness, anger, despair, blankness. They were the signs of his internal turmoil. You shouldn't listen to others so much, I said quietly. Follow your intuition. There's nothing wrong with being a loner. And anyway, just as you found Donnie, you'll find others, men and women, who think as you do. He shrugged, then turned his head away. I could sense he was fighting back tears. What's the matter? I asked. You told me I shouldn't listen to others. Yes, that's good advice. That's just the trouble. It isn't. I don't understand. Now he looked at me and his answer was an anguished wail. I feel hopeless, desperate, despairing. If I don't listen to others, then I'll have to listen to myself. Memories of past life came easily to him under hypnosis. I'm a male, he said, but not exactly a man, not exactly human. I tried to hide my amazement, but I'm afraid my voice might have cracked. What time period are you talking about? 60,000 years ago. 60,000. I stared at him, trying to see if the hypnosis hadn't worked, and he was putting me on. No, his eyes were closed, his breathing regular. Go on, I managed to say. I was born on another planet. It had no name. Maybe it existed in a different planetary system or a different dimension. Anyways, I'm part of a migration from the planet to Earth. When we arrive, others greet us, descendants of beings from earlier migrations from different star systems. They are mixing amongst an evolving subspecies, namely human beings. We must say on Earth, we must stay on Earth with them because the planet is dying and this one is new. True, we didn't have physically come here. Our souls could have been incarnated in the human around us or into the beings from other worlds, but we are proud people. Technology is advanced. We have traveled vast distances. Our culture is sophisticated. Our intelligence is accurate. We want to preserve our knowledge and our accomplishments. We want to join the others and through reincarnation aid the evolution of these new human people. The Patrick in my office had a high voice as though it was not fully mature. It was appropriate to his personality. Now, however, his tone was resonant, and the words flowed with great authority. I was spellbound by his vision, one unlike any I'd ever encountered. And mind you, my dear friends, this is Brian Wise's 20th year of past life regression. So this is huge when it says, right? Our bodies are not too different from the humans, but our minds are far superior. The atmosphere on Earth is much like the one surrounding our old planet, which is why we chose this location as our destination. But the air here is pure and clear. In all other respects, too, the Earth is far more beautiful than the place from which we came. There are trees and grass and water, rivers and oceans, flowers, birds, fish of every color. I am content here, no more than content, happier than I've ever been. My job is to supervise storage of artifacts and written knowledge, and I have found the ideal place natural chambers deep under the Earth's surface. By the time the humans have reached a level where they can understand what we have hidden, they will be able to find it. Later, when I had a chance to ponder what he was saying, several ideas that I had formed before I met him simply verified. Souls are the same. I believed where they come from, different dimensions or galaxies or from Earth, new arrivals to a world quickly enter the reincarnation of cycle, and they tend to incarnate here. In part because they have created karmic debts and obligations, in part because their mission is to assist in the evolution of the human race. Souls can enter earthly bodies as easily as any alien body. Patrick's soul chose to stay in this paradise that his people had chosen to inhabit. With my urging, Patrick took me further ahead in his past life. I found a cliff where the ocean meets the sky, and I built a house there of stone and wood. My huge task is complete. The artifacts and documents are safely stored. I'm free to enjoy the beauty around me, to bask in the scented air. I'm considered wise, and many of my own race as well as humans come to me for advice, which I am happy to give. Eventually I die, but long ago my people learned to detach their souls from their physical bodies at the proper moment so that they can move with ease to levels of higher consciousness. This I do. But I am able to continue communication with many of my people still in their bodies, in their new home, the planet Earth. Indeed, he seemed transported, floating between two realms in two levels of consciousness. The distinction between God and humans is minor. One of the pieces of knowledge that remains hidden where I have it stored is how to master the art of separating consciousness from the physical vehicle. Someday soon, your culture will learn how to do that too. When that happens, you will find that separating awareness can assume other less solid bodies as it wished. From that vantage, it can influence other entities in their physical forms. To the receiving entity, this influence will seem divine, angelly, godlike, but it is really an advanced form of the very same consciousness possessed by the receiver. Now, that was absolutely profound, which is why, if you be, like, we've all seen the autobiography for Yogi, we've all heard about it, right? In that, they say that the master could never be pictured because he would be standing with people when the photographer would take the picture. Um, you can't see it because he was light. When you reach higher consciousness, you stop becoming so solid. Then our bodies will become transparent. And somebody who's seen a soul, when I saw my brother's soul for the first time when it was released, because he was trapped on Mother Earth after we lost him, it was like a chotu sa, like a hava, like a smoke, just went. Absolutely like light, chota, nothing. That is who our soul is. And our soul does Brahman. We've spoken about that many a time before. In the night when we are sleeping in the, smart watches, the Fitbits, the Apple watches are showing that, oh, it's a deep blue line, deep sleep. That time the soul is on a Brahman. Dr. Brian Bai says, to hear such profound thoughts from a young man who seemed at first meeting callow and uniform was thrilling. And what he said next was to me beautiful. My world is ancient and yours is very young, yet the difference is as nothing in the scope of time. Time is like a breath out and a breath in by a cosmic God. The out breath is a creation of stars, planets, galaxies, and universes. The in breath brings them all back into one incredibly small and dense point of dust in the God's lungs. The respiration of time, in and out, occurring in an endless number of cycles, hints at the nature of eternity. Patrick fell silent, and I, much moved, considered his words. My own studies, I felt, had been enhanced. I had been shown, as Patrick said, a glimpse of the nature of eternity, and it seemed to me exquisite. I understood the attraction to science fiction, his love for the sky, and the wish for the ability to travel to the stars. When he awakened, I asked him if he believed that he had witnessed was merely an extension of the books he had loved as a child. No, he said quickly. I never imagined anything like what I saw just now, and neither did the writers of the book. My experience was very real. I imagined nothing. His reaction seemed authentic and sparked in him a wave of ideas. What if black holes actually part of the cosmic in-breath? He wondered aloud. What if angels and masters and spiritual guides are somehow linked to ancient and highly advanced alien civilizations? Far out, I thought, over the edge. That's what I had thought when Catherine began her regressions and when Victoria told me she had seen me in Jerusalem. Besides, what I thought didn't matter. I could see a new light in Patrick's eyes, the spark of his passion returning after more than 20 years. For the therapy would bring him closer to the spiritual path, I knew. It would bring him to it by renewing his passion for life, his joy, and his hope. As therapy progressed, Patrick was able to remember 3 additional past lives. Number one, as an indigenous inhabitant of either Central America or the northern part of South America, 9 centuries ago, he was renowned as a mathematician and an astronomer, living alone but revered and honored to an old age. His experience 60,000 years ago influenced in this lifetime. He realized for he was curious about the configuration of the stars and the meaning of meteors. Number two, in the early 18th century, he was a Kabbalistic Jewish rabbi, a scholar living in a small town outside Krakow, Poland. There he was able to combine his mystical studies with a practical family life. He had much to teach, had a wife and many children, and was comfortable and accepted by the townsfolk and his culture. He did not feel like an alien as he had often did in the current life. Number three, he was a Buddhist monk living in a cold and barren part of China in the 14th century. There he was well accepted in the community of religious thinkers and was able to combine periods of meditation and introspection with an active farming life. He was a master of energy manipulation and flow, particularly the energy centers and channels within the body. When he was back in the present, he understood how similar his work was to the practice of acupuncture. As he relived his Chinese lifetime, he sensed his immediate transcendence beyond the physical and mortal to a place in another realm in a parallel universe. Many of these concepts are similar to the knowledge and wisdom he would acquire several centuries later as a Kabbalistic rabbi. He would see the connection immediately as we reviewed this Buddhist life in my office. Either the cultures had communicated at some time in the past, he surmised, or the knowledge was indeed universal and could be tapped into independently by anyone wishing to use his or her intelligence in the pursuit of what lay beyond the perceptible world. By this time, Patrick felt comfortable with me and he enjoyed my session as much as I enjoyed reading science fiction, but he still had difficulty in the Miami outside my office. While he was still influenced by his values and opinions of other people, particularly his father, he still felt insecure in the presence of women and all strangers. Now, instead of feeling despairing, he said, I just feel lonely. My thoughts are nice to go to sleep with, but I'd be happier if a woman's body was alongside me to keep me company. He closed his eyes. Maybe in a future life, he said wistfully. Maybe I said, would you like to try to find out? My name is Maddie, Patrick said. Women aren't usually asked to participate in high level astronomical research, but my grades were so superior to my male counterparts and my work so good at the Space Center that they couldn't keep me away. I'd have sued them. Some things don't change, I thought. Sexism is in the future. In the future doesn't sound very different from sexism in the present. I liked Maddie immediately. She was obviously a fierce and tough advocate for herself, a good progression for Patrick. So now, dear friends, we are no longer into regression. In the previous page, we were talking about Patrick's regression, right? Now we're talking about his progression. We progressed to his future life. And the future life, for all of you, you must be clear that he's in a female avatar, a female body, and his name is Patrick, Maddie in that life. What year is it? I asked. Year 2254, he answered immediately. Month May, day Thursday, time 10:17 p.m. How old are you? 31. The age Patrick was in this life. Where are you speaking from? The observatory, of course. Here am I, surrounded by my computers, my scopes, my listening devices. I have been here 9 times this morning, my usual hours, and I couldn't be happier. What specifically are you working on? I suppose it's all right to tell. The press got hold of the story a few weeks ago, and I've been making fun of it ever since. My friends laugh at me too, but I assure you I'm dead serious. I've no doubt about it. We are studying the origin, structure, and occasional demise of alien civilizations. I confess to being stunned. If this was fantasy, it was appropriate for Patrick, a direct continuation of his childhood reading. But if this was real, and if his life 60,000 years ago was real, then how marvelous that at this future point in time, he could study the roots of his past. Where does the information come from? Maddie seemed pleased by the question, adopting a professional tone familiar to me from my college days. Simply put, what we do is by no means simple. We've been utilizing data from space probes to listen to the messages from other planets and other galaxies. What we learn from them is then combined with information gathered from the 16 space stations we've orbited throughout the solar system. And by now, we have a pretty good idea of the landscape. It seems there are dozens of such civilizations and societies, most of them too far away for us to make anything but the most rudimentary contacts. Signals sent from them to us, from us to them, that tell both societies that we exist. But with others, the closer ones, those have had technology to accomplish it. Well, it seems we'll be having some visits pretty soon. Now, some of you, this is what happened to me right now. There was this movie called Krish, if you remember. In that, he was visited by these beautiful aliens, right? Little alien, I forgot the name. And then how did it start? Start giving the signals of Om, and then they would hear that Om from there. This is what probably we are talking about. It just came up and I just kind of recited that. Anyways, the question Dr. Brian Vass asks is, will they visit us or will we visit them? Oh, they'll come to us. We've got nearly advanced, we're not nearly advanced enough in space travel. We've barely been able to get beyond our own solar system. She paused, blinked, eyes bright. But when do they come and we can show them to the world? Think of the increases in government funding. You'll be there to see it, I said. You bet. And the press and my friends who laughed at us, they'll be eating crow. Maddie was hazy about family, friends, and personal relationships. When I asked about them, she changed the subject back to her work. Clearly, this was part of this future which inspired Patrick, and as always, I did not press the patient to go where he was reluctant to investigate. Just a quick thing. It's 6:56. Okay, we just have 3 pages. So just bear with me for about 10 more minutes and we'd be done, right? I was about to ask him for more details about Maddie's research when his awareness shifted and he left that lifetime to come back to the current one. Still hypnotized, he viewed it from a higher perspective. From the past 3 years, I had been thinking of taking an astronomy course at the University of Miami. If they wouldn't accept, I'd audit it if they wouldn't accept me as a full-time student. But I always postponed it, too shy to ask, I guess. But now I see I'm meant to take this course. It's a next step in preparation for my future life and work. He took a breath and then he said slowly and calmly, it's a destiny I've been working for. After he left, I wrote a note on the concepts of destiny and free will, why that is so important to my work. Patrick would be choosing to take the astronomy course, yet it would also be his destiny. The two are strongly linked. The correct application of our free will would carry us along the path of our destiny. On the other hand, free choices that are not correct could carry us away from our destiny, delaying our spiritual progress and complicating our lives. It's much easier to make correct choices if we can glimpse our future, whether in this life or in lives to come. Seeing his future's life certainly crystallized Patrick's decision to take the astronomy course. He enrolled at the next opportunity. Patrick soon received confirmation that he was indeed on the path of his destiny. During the second semester of the astronomy course, he called me. By the time he had long finished his therapy, and I hadn't heard from him since the discharge. I need to see you, he said. Oh, we made a date. And I wondered what this possibly could have happened. Patrick had been transformed from a man with debilitating insecurities to one who seemed at peace with himself and with his limitations. From his long silence, I assumed he was getting quite well along, but something had thrown him back into the former disquiet. To the contrary, he bounded into my office like an overzealous puppy and clasped my hands in a firm grip. Whereas he used to avoid my eyes, now he looked into them with steady gaze. What's up? I asked, my fears for him dissipating. Dressed neatly, clean shaven, and hair newly trimmed, his good humor was palpable. He was carrying a small packet that he placed on my desk. I met a girl. Wonderful and somewhat surprising. I expected him to do well academically, but not necessarily socially. Till security in one phase of life often means security in others. This is obviously what had happened inside Patrick. Tell me about her, I said. Her name is Sarah. He grinned. She's a nerd like me. You met her at school. Yeah, she may not be beautiful to look at, though she's no dog, mind you, but her brain is beautiful. She's beautiful. She's interested in astronomy? Of course, otherwise she wouldn't be taking the course. She's 27, works in an architectural firm where she's going nowhere and decided to change her life. Coincidence, isn't it? Or destiny, I thought. If Patrick hadn't decided to change his life too, Sarah and he almost certainly would never have met. I delighted in his joy. We are engaged. We'll marry in the winter. That's why I needed to see you to tell you it wouldn't have happened without your help, to thank you in person. That's what therapy is for. I'm glad it worked so well. He indicated the package he had put on the desk, and I brought you a present. I picked it up. Don't open it until I leave, he said, suddenly shy. I hope you like it. His mission fulfilled, he was obviously anxious to go, and I did not detain him. We shook hands, knowing we might never see each other again. When he was gone, I opened the package. It was a book, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. How wonderful. Now, isn't this chapter absolutely amazing? Beautiful chapter on insecurity. So, again, once again, it proves to all of us that life is full of gifts, full of presents, and whatever happens, wherever we are guided by intuition, is something that we must follow. So, I hope the learning was good. And if there are any reflections, you can share in the group or here. I'm absolutely good for it. But yes, it was very inspirational. And this is how the souls travels, whether it's progression or regression. There are always answers in these beautiful questions and gives us more clarity on where we are, how we are, and what's our soul family doing along with us. So, more love, more light to each one of you. I shall see you again tomorrow morning at 6 for yet another session of progression and regression. Lots of love and light, and have a great day, blessed day indeed.